Nova is a hero that took a while to grow on me, right? Nova is kind of weird in the way that he works, where you want to get, for me, cheap cards out there and kind of be aggressive with him, but at the same time, you still want to build up toward that big swing at the end of the game. It's a little weird to explain until you actually play the hands and see how it works. And especially when you see how much his wild resources matter, it's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, so Nova was a little bit weird for me to get into first. So again, this is going to be a how I play Nova. I play him more aggressively than most people do, I think. But this is how I play him. It's not necessarily the best way. It's not the only way, but this is just a rough idea of how you can play Nova as well. Before we jump down to the table, down in the description is the deck list if you want to check it out and see it that way. But let's just let's pop down and check out this deck. All right, here it is all laid out on the table. We have all of Nova's cards here. And like I said, this is gonna be an aggression deck. It's gonna kind of move kind of quick. It's gonna be aggressive. So we'll go left to right. We'll start with our allies. So first we have Ironheart. I like Ironheart for the cheap card draw, essentially, and a cheap blocker. Then we have Mockingbird, because I think stunning is always a good thing if you can get it done. Moon Girl, because we are a champion, so it's nice to get more card draw in there if we can. And then same with Nick Fury, right? Nice to get the card draw in if we can. Now, what I will say is if you need to remove Mockingbird, feel free to, because if you're playing a stalwart or steady villain, it won't always make sense. So obviously feel free to. But I like her generally in there. Moon Girl I like a lot. Nick Fury can get out too if you think he's going to be too expensive. But I think Nick Fury should be all right because we are running double grays, which we'll get into a little bit. All right, so then we have Hulk, who again I usually use as just a blocker. Spider Girl, I like that when she comes in, you can stun and confuse a minion. I think that's a pretty strong thing to be able to do, especially at 2 costs. I like that a lot. So that's good. The Locust is interesting. It's a 2/1/1/2 hero. After the Locust enters play, add a red aggression event from your discard pile to your hand. This would be good because some of these aggression cards will need at a certain time, so it's pretty useful for that. And then finally, Wolverine. You all know how I feel about Wolverine. I think he's one of the strongest allies you can get in aggression. He might not always make sense, but I think he's pretty good. So that's one of my favorites to go with. Now, for events, Pitchback is going to be a huge card for us. I really love this card for Nova because it states that you can only play with your Aerial as long as you have the helmet attached to your Aerial, and after your hero attacks, deal 4 damage to the enemy. So this is an easy way. One for 4 damage is a great amount to do. It's fantastic. So Pitchback is one of my favorite cards to play. I'll actually switch these two for a second. Moment of Triumph is an old but a good card. 0 cost event. After you attack and defeat an enemy, heal 1 damage from your hero for each point of excess damage dealt to the enemy by the attack. So again, if you're doing a lot of damage to a minion or you're about to flip the villain, it's a great way to get a heal in. I don't like flipping down much with Nova. Some people do. I'm not a big fan of flipping down with Nova. I like to keep Nova where he's at on the hero side. I think that's the best way to play him. So I need to be able to heal somewhat reliably on my hero side. And then finally we have Dive Bomb, which is just a sweet card if you can pull it off. But it's a 4 cost card. You can only play via the aerial trait, which we should. Deal 7 damage to enemy and 1 damage to each other enemy, which is fantastic. We'll be hopefully working that in with Hone Technique, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Then we go for champions. There's a lot of champions in this deck. Ironheart is a champion. Moon Girl is a champion. The Locust is a champion. Locust is a champion, and that's it. And then obviously we're a champion, and our signature ally is a champion. So go for champions can be a good card to have when you just need to basically have a round where no one gets knocked out, right? Or you don't get knocked out. So I like that card. I think that's can be a pretty strong card, but it doesn't always make sense. Avengers Mansion, again, because we're running gray doubles, that if we can get one or both of them in to pay for this card, I think it's huge. And anything that gets us extra card draw, absolutely fantastic. Champions Mobile Bunker, really just there to kind of, again, help us cycle through cards, get us the cards that we need. I think that's useful. And then we have Endurance, which I think is pretty strong. Again, getting extra help, super good, super strong. We're going to be attacking, like we saw with Pitchback, that we're going to want to exhaust, attack, and then probably re-exhaust. And Nova only has a 1 base attack, so to be able to pump that up just a little bit with combat training is super useful. So our hero gets +1 attack. And then Hone Technique. I don't always get this in, but if you can get this to work with Dive Bomb, it's fantastic. It's 3 cost upgrade. You got to use 2 science resources. And then when you play an aggression attack event, if you pay for this using a science resource, which we're using a lot of wilds, so you should be able to hopefully get that science resource, increase the amount of damage by the printed cost. So this is now 11 and 5. Right, so that's absolutely nuts. Now we don't use the standard doubles, or I don't at least. I use 2 Power of Aggression and 2 the Power in All of Us cards as our resource cards. The reason being is because the doubles, my wild resources are going to count as doubles in most of his cards, so I'd rather just use them for that and have less doubles overall. So hopefully that makes sense of why I'm doing it that way. But yeah, that's a rough idea. So let's talk a little bit about strategy, and then we'll play a couple practice hands. So right away, we're going to want to get Nova's helmet in. It's going to generate a wild resource for us, which is really huge. And after when we use one of our basic powers, we get to ready up the helmet again. So right, it's 2 separate resources we can generate when we're playing our turn, which is absolutely huge, especially if we have cheaper cards we need to get in, or we're using any of our cards like Lightspeed Flight that removes 3 threat from a scheme. Normally it'd be 2 for 3, but if we use a wild resource, it's now a 1 for 3, which isn't too bad. Pot Shot, same as that thing, it becomes a 1 for 4 card. We're going to do a lot of cards like this that are going to be super cheap. Miss Marvel is also a huge card to get in. Because after you play an event, exhaust Miss Marvel and deal 1 damage to it, return that event to your hand. So it's going to be great for getting like Pot Shot or Pitchback back in, right? Or ways to do more damage. He's got some other good cards too, but it's a lot of that just like quick attack cards is what we're looking for. So we want to build out a little bit, get those quick attacks in, and really once you start going with Nova, he gets going fast because he has a resource generator right away. So that's what's really nice about him. So yeah, let's go back down to the table and let's play some practice hands. All right, so we have Nova all set up on the table. We'll shuffle up his cards a little bit. So again, the number one thing is gonna be getting that helmet in as fast as possible, using it as a resource generator, and then just kind of going crazy with them right away. So it's gonna be, again, he's a much different hero than I think a lot of other heroes play, because you are doing smaller amounts of damage, but you're trying to do a lot of those small amounts of damage. So, all right, shuffle up, and then we draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Helmet is key, but we just need a science resource. So Connection to World Mind does not count to your hand size, and so okay, the other one doesn't either. So we get to draw 2 more cards because it doesn't count to our hand size. Mockingbird and the Locust. So Die Bomb we don't need, right? That's not going to make sense. We want Connection to the World Mind right away. Pot Shot we can start doing damage with. A double would be nice, and Mockingbird wouldn't be too bad. I'd probably get rid of the other ones for right now because we probably don't need them. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So really it's 1, 2, 3. So we draw 3 more cards. 1, 2, 3. Okay, interesting. So we have to decide if card draw is good or not right now. But first thing I want to do is use a wild resource, and then we get to put the Nova helmet into play. That's what's nice about getting a wild resource right away, is that goes into play super quick. So now Nova gains the aerial trait. All right, let's flip up to the Nova side. So for example, we can use Nova and use Connection to the World Mind to play Ironheart, which draws us a card. Avengers Mansion, that's what I'm talking about. So we'll use a Gray Double, a Mockingbird, Unleash Nova Force, because I don't think we need that right now. It is a really good card, but I don't think we would defeat or anything like that. Probably, maybe we would, but probably not in the beginning. Get Avengers Mansion in. I would exhaust that to get Moon Girl. Interesting. Isn't super helpful right now, but that is a possibility. So we can use Nova to thwart 1, attack 1. It doesn't really matter. So after you use Nova's basic power, you get to ready up the helmet. So now we have an extra wild resource. We could play Moon Girl, but we'd only draw 1 card, which isn't super useful. So after we did this, we can, after your hero attacked, we can use the helmet again. Actually, no. What we do is throw away Moon Girl to play Pitchback. We get to deal 4 damage to an enemy. And then we can use the helmet to do Pot Shot to do another 4 damage to enemy. So we're already doing 8 damage, 9 if we did anything with Ironheart, like right away, right? This is super quick. So then, for example, if we ready back up, then we have what, 5 cards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say Ironheart takes the block, knocks out Ironheart, right? First thing we do is use Avengers Mansion, draw a card, go for Champions, which would be nice, but probably wouldn't work right now. I would use Nick Fury. So I use the Gray Double, go for Champions, a Moment of Triumph, because we haven't taken any damage yet, to draw 3 more cards. 1, 2, 3. All right, the Power Aggression I would actually use. Power Aggression I would use to play Combat Training, which would be really nice right now. And then we have some options, which is kind of cool. So I would use the helmet to play the flight to make sure that the threat is down to 0. And then we can use Nova, swing, do 2 damage. It readies up her helmet. We can then use her helmet to play another 4 damage right there. So we already have 6 damage done. And then we can hold in the force field projection as a way to prevent attack that we would take or damage we would take. Which could be nice for defending, even though we have Nick Fury. So maybe you don't want to do that because we do have Nick Fury. So then we could just ready up again. And then now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pitchback, Spider-Girl, Endurance, Jesse, and Dive Bomb. So again, let's say Nick Fury gets taken out. We've done already a ton of damage. We can use Avengers Mansion, draw a card. It's Moment of Triumph. I would almost be tempted to throw away 2 cards to put in Spider-Girl so that we have a blocker. And then we can use the helmet to play Endurance, which could be nice. Get some more life in there. Exhaust Nova to do 2 damage. It readies up the helmet. We can then use the helmet or use Jesse Alexander to play Pitchback to do 4 more damage. And then Spider-Girl could do, we've already done so much damage in 3 rounds. It's kind of crazy. So you can see how quickly he can attack and just get his board state going. All right, let's say we're getting to the end of the game, right? This is the very end, and we need to get the final push to get the win, hopefully. I have the helmet out there, which you should have no matter what. Champions Mobile Bunker, you should generally have. It could be pretty helpful. And then Combat Training. Again, I like Combat Training a lot. I think it'd be pretty good. Miss Marvel we have out there to basically return an event to her hand, hopefully. But we'll see. So we draw up our 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which gives us Pitchback, a double. Oh, okay. Now we get to draw another card because Connection doesn't count. It's a Pitchback. Okay, so 2, 3, 4. Interesting. So we can use Champions Mobile Bunker to draw 2 cards, and then oh my gosh, all my Pitchbacks. And we can throw away 2 cards. So we could throw away Mansion because we wouldn't need it. And probably one of our Pitchbacks because we won't be able to use it, I think. So what we can do is, for example, once again, actually, let's say we're on the final stage. Let me think about this. This could be really strong. So yeah, let's say we're on the final stage, right? Or, they have 2 health left. We first can use the helmet and the Connection to the World Mine to play Ironheart to draw another card. Okay, that doesn't. Actually, that'd be drawn, so it just doesn't count to our hand size. So that's fine. So what we could do is attack for 2. It would flip the villain to the next stage, right? And then it would ready up the helmet. We attacked for 2. So we could use the helmet to deal another 4. So they were at 18 life, right? They flip over, they're at 18. So now it's down to 14 life. We can then exhaust Miss Marvel to get the card back in her hand. 14. Nah, it's not going to quite work the way I would want, unfortunately. So we would probably use Connection, a Pitchback, and a double red to play Dive Bomb. So now that brings him down to 7 life overall, 6 life overall. All right, and then we just ready up. We would draw back up. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. We got our pot shot, so we're really strong now. So once again, they only have a little bit of life. Ironheart would take the block. Hopefully we hang in there. We could do Champions Mobile Bunker, but I wouldn't even worry about that because basically I'll use the helmet to do a pot shot, which deals 4 damage to them. We can attack for another 2, which readies up the helmet. And then we could honestly do this to do another pot shot, which would do... or not pot shot, Pitchback, which do 4 more damage, and then we can throw away 2 cards to do a pot shot to do the 4 more damage. Top it, we're already doing so much damage at this point, and that doesn't even include Miss Marvel and what to use for her, but even use Champions Mobile Bunker, which the last one was a great double. So you can see that it's you gotta get his attack cards right, and you have to be able to draw them back. Sometimes you get too many of them, like we did, but that's the rough idea, right? It's just figuring out the response windows, using Pitchback, using pot shot. It's just cheap cards to get out there that constantly keep doing damage, which is super useful. But that's really how I would get Nova to work. So that's how I play Nova, or how I've been playing Nova. He's a lot of fun. He's a very quick, snappy hero. I still like him in aggression the most. You can do him in other aspects as well, which work pretty well. But aggression is still my favorite, just because pitchback I think is such a strong card with Nova. Personally, I really love that card with Nova, especially when you learn about like response windows and how open the response window can be and all that fun stuff. So anyway, hopefully you've been enjoying this series. Recently we did a video on Ironheart. If you want to see that, it's right here. Again, it's not the best way to play Ironheart per se, but it's been the way I've been playing her and really enjoying her. So make sure to check it out. And if you made it this far, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. See you all next time.